that went through?
No, we didn't get any tornadoes down here. It got windy, but nothing remotely close to a tornado.
Oh my God, the stuff with the other part of Texas was really bad.
Yeah. And I learned my lesson last time. I sent the notification out, so there's no excuses for people not to be here today.
Oh my God. Put things away and they were working, and then you go check them out and they're not working.
Been there and done that. Yep.
Yeah, one of my batteries must have had a dead cell in it. And then the little thing that you turn on the power with, the little key fob.
Yep.
I'm wondering why my batteries aren't going on. It was the last thing I checked was the little key fob thing, and the battery was dead in there.
I've actually heard, and I don't know why it would be the case, that the batteries in those little fobs don't last very long.
I've had this one quite a while. I mean, it's been, I'll bet you, about 4 years.
Oh, well, there you go. I guess you can't expect too much more than that out of it.
No. But I'll bring an extra fob next time.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh my God, the Type 7 is amazing.
You got it?
Yeah, it's sitting right here. It's not in video screen, but holy moly, this thing looks.
So it showed up in one piece. Okay, nothing busted or broken or dislocated.
The front starboard bow plane guard had broken off, but that was an easy fix. And the front HF wire had gone inside the submarine and had wrapped around the front of the bow plane axis there. So it was like a 4-hour ordeal to unwrap that without breaking it, but I finally cut it off.
What?
Well, that wasn't. Yeah, that's amazing. You got to wonder what they do with this thing in shipping, because they must have tossed it around all over the place, you know.
Wow.
Stop whining.
It's my sensei. Oh yeah, pretty amazing though. It looks great.
I like the authentic interior color of your boat there.
Oh yeah, this is definitely engine room green. I was working with Dave to try to trim it out. Lesson learned is don't put your ballast tank too far aft because it's not going to trim. So Dave saved me from that. I'm going to move this whole thing forward. But yeah, it was funny. I had a couple of my lieutenants come over who were submarine officers. And they saw the inside of this, and it triggered their PTSD, basically seeing that from back in the day.
I like that. I got to think about that next time, to put the that submarine wall green in the inside of the boat. I think that's a great idea.
Well, you know, I like that it provides a nice palette to the background of the WTC, you know, the electronics and stuff. It just looks cool, you know. I don't know, maybe I'm a nerd, but I think it looks cool.
What was it? Pea green in that awful shade of tan.
That's right.
And blue. When I was on that Virginia, you had the light blue as well.
That's new to me.
Yeah, no, the walls were green and the ceilings were blue, just to make you feel like you're outside.
I'm sure it worked.
Yeah, I felt just like I was sitting outside.
The forward second deck bulkhead, as you went past MCC Missile Control Center and the USS Florida, that whole bulkhead as you went aft the missile control was all painted blue. That was like my favorite part of the submarine because it made you think about outside.
Yeah, well, the guys on the Webster missed that trick. Then you get in the engineering spaces, it's nothing but that damn white.
That and fluorescent lights. Nothing but fluorescent lights for dang.
Oh man.
Ever.
Yeah. So, guys would come out of maneuvering after a watch looking like it was shell shock.
I gotta tell you, the worst sunburn I ever had was we were, I don't know, 2-3 months underway. We ended up in Pearl Harbor to do I don't know if we were doing a TRE down there. It was so long. This was like in 87, 88. But anyways, had to throw on my whites and go stand topside watch for 6 hours in the sun in the middle of Pearl Harbor after being underwater for 2 months. I was sunburnt through my uniform. It was freaking ridiculous.
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Bob, I have a question about the time and date of the meetings. During the summer, I'll probably be, out boating or whatever. And of course, on a Saturday, that's a good day to do it. And, have you considered having this meeting, on a weekday evening?
We have. So back when I was first thinking about these, my idea was to have it kind of rolling. So it'd be kind of a different day and a different time. And then that way people would all, depending if they're across the ocean or whatever, should be able to hit one at least, once every couple months. But what we found is it messed people up. They're like, I don't know when the meetings are and I missed it. And, even though it's posted on the site and all of that. So we kind of fell into this routine of Saturdays, but now that we're coming up, it's probably a good point and something we could talk about here. With summer coming on, people are going to have plans, during the weekends. They're going to want to enjoy time outside and spending time with family and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I'm with Ken on that. Yeah.
I would.
But you want to spend time with family when you can spend time working on your submarine, dude? I think.
Well, my first reply was going to be just prioritize your life properly, and this won't be a problem. But yeah, I mean, I'd be open to queuing this up for discussion to see what people would be open for.
Hey, Ken, I'm on my boat every weekend in the summer, and I just watch it on my phone in the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, that wouldn't go over with having people on the boat and, enjoying yourself in the sun and whatever.
All I say is, excuse me.
Yeah.
Frank, Mr. Charm.
Or I could just be honest and tell him, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back in an hour.
Well, you know what? If you can buy one of those billionaire Russian yachts and you can get lost on the boat, you can just disappear for 2 hours and join the video here and nobody will know.
If I had that kind of money, why would I be talking to you bums?
Well, maybe they'd let them go pretty cheap.
I have a yacht. Anything over 31 foot is a yacht. So I have a 34-foot boat. I still go on my phone.
You're talking about your sea view.
Our boat's brand new. We didn't even see it yet. It's delivered to the dealer. It's a 31-foot boat, and it's considered a yacht.
Yes, it's a yacht. So tell those people, go to the front of the boat. That's all. Go upstairs.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's give everybody like 5 minutes. It's just coming up on 3 right now. We'll let them get signed in and then we'll queue it up as first order of business to take a show of hands in terms of timing. The other thing that I want to do, I just got to get around to it, is opening up one of these to the general public. And I can't remember for the life of me who it was. And I don't know if they're here now or if they're going to be chiming in, but they had some experience managing large Zoom meetings. If we get 20 or 30 or 40 people in, which is certainly feasible, we're going to need to manage, attendees.
I teach a college class, Bob, where I got 50 students. I do it every Tuesday, Thursday morning on Zoom, and it's really not too hard. I assume you would be the host and you have an account so you can host that many people?
Right. I've got the account. I've got a paid account, so I can host it. But what would be good would be to have somebody kind of take over the job of administration during the meeting. So if someone, raises the hands, they can unmute, let that person say their thing, and then mute them back up and make sure that things go smoothly, because it could be a gong show otherwise.
Yeah, what I found when I did that was I have 2 monitors at work. I got one sitting in front of me in a landscape view, and then the other larger one is standing in a vertical view. And I put all the gallery up over there with everybody's faces I have a PowerPoint, so I'll put that on the other. Then I open the chat, and then I'm able to control the whole thing from there. That I can mute, unmute people. I can see when people have hands up if they want to ask a question. When they're done, I just ask them to put their hand down based, then that little reaction icon. It's really not too hard to do. The only challenge I think you may have is depending on the size of the screen. If you have big enough a screen, then you can see the full gallery view,
Yeah, I stole my son's monitor. I think I told you guys it's like a 30-inch monitor, so I got lots of real estate. Well, anyhow, we'll queue that up for sometime in the coming months here or month. Hopefully.
And the other thing is, if you want somebody else to mute, unmute, and do that, they would have to be the host. Then and if you gave somebody else to host, that's up to you if you'd want to do that or not.
Yeah, because sometimes you get people that just hog the whole thing, and they're on there for 20 minutes, and somebody can't get a word in edgewise.
Right. Yeah. And we'll just have to be prepared with that many people. It could be that instead of a 1 hour, event, it could be 2 or something like that. But
well, in that case, you just go after the hour, and when it's still open, and you could talk till you're blue in the face, if anybody wants to listen.
Yeah. So probably. Back when I was doing my YouTube live deals, like there would be 40 or 50 people on, and they would all be chatting over each other. So I'd imagine this would be the same sort of thing. If we open it up, we'd have that kind of turnout, I would think. But
and you get one of those chess game clocks. Slap the clock.
There you go. One minute to make your point. Yeah, exactly.
Just like talk radio.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Randy, good work on those Collins files. I love those. Turned out really good. I know I had people from Australia. Oh, look at you! You printed one out.
Hey, Bob, I was looking at the events calendar for the Subfest in Georgia. Is it tentative for the 16th, 17th, 18th September, or is that for sure now?
It's been locked in, and I paid a deposit.
Okay, roger that.
Yeah, I was gonna queue that up, but you just let the whole cat out of the bag. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know. Sorry.
Subfest has been confirmed for the 3rd weekend of September. It's on my calendar on the events page. So start making plans to be out there. It'd be great to see everyone. Last year was great, and this year, now that I've got my feet underneath me, I'm not like moving 3 things and surgeries and all of that stuff. I'm hoping it'll be even better this year.
How could it be better? It was perfect.
Oh, you have no idea. The epicness is going to blow your mind.
I got to figure out how to couple Subfest with my wife and our anniversary on the 18th, dude. I got to figure out how I'm going to convince her this will be a good anniversary trip. That's my only challenge.
Who would not want to go to Cahata, Georgia for their anniversary?
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mike, it's an easy sell.
I kind of agree with you.
You sell it as we're going to a resort with crystal clear water and for 3 days.
That'll test a marriage.
Just tell her it's a surprise.
Yeah. I guess I have to buy the spa package. I buy her the spa package, and then I'm able to sell it to her.
And if worse comes to worse,
someone here will rubber back for you.
If worse comes to worse, just lie.
That's a good call. That's right.
So yeah, Subfest, mark your calendars. Okay, yeah, now that we got more people here, if you weren't here earlier, one thing that we queued up was this idea of moving around the dates or the times and days for DiveTribe through the summer season at least. So maybe we'll just queue up like just a couple minutes and everybody can give their thoughts. But Ken had kind of brought up the point, now that we're getting into the summer season, weekends are going to become a little bit more valuable to people. And throwing a DiveTribe meeting right square in the afternoon during like prime outdoor enjoyment time might not work for everyone. So I'm open to suggestions. So if anybody has any ideas, now would be the time to voice them.
Well, just an observation, Saturday's a good day, and I'm here on the East Coast, so even if it gets to be 8 or 9 o'clock at night, it's fine, because I can sleep in Sunday. Later the better on Saturday evening, the way I see it.
Okay.
Personally, I don't care.
I'm flexible with whatever you want to do, Bob. Only if we're going to do it during a weekday, it's got to, for me at least, got to be in the evening because I got a day job and,
Yeah,
and all that.
I mean, yeah, everybody's got to work, so most of us have to work.
No, we don't. But I don't care what that, what time or whatever. I'm retired and it doesn't, it's no problem for me at any time.
Okay. Well, we got one vote for late on Saturday.
I'm with Dave.
That honestly is going to be a problem for me because that's going to interfere with like evening and dinner plans for my wife. So if we want this whole thing to continue at all, we're going to need to appease her.
I kind of like Thursdays.
Like Thursday evening.
I know, yeah, I know you had some things. I was watching a Ray Marine depth finder video, and I happened to see you popping up there as well. So, I was going back and forth between that and your video. I think it was just an open video, not a DiveTribe or anything. So, but Thursdays and.
Well, and we don't need to, maybe the solution would be so there's a few things that could work out well for this. So we could do, say, Thursday 1 week and then Saturday 2 weeks later, so that each month there would be one on a Thursday and one on a Saturday. And we just make it so it's like Thursday at 7, Saturday at 3. That's the
David's making a funny face.
Yeah, for us on the West Coast, if it's at 7, that's at 5 o'clock, and that's the start of a work day. I mean, we're still not the start, but we're still at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do 7:30.
I'm sure we could negotiate 7:30. Yeah. But that's jumping back, the overarching idea, First DiveTribe of the month could be Thursday evening. Second one would be a Saturday afternoon. And then obviously all of these, as you know, are recorded and posted. So if you can't make it, you can still get all the content. You'll just have to watch it later at your convenience. Sounds feasible.
Sounds good to me.
Well, and now that I've been prompted numerous times to send notifications out, I'll send the email out the morning of, so you can make plans for the evening of. And just to help eliminate some of the confusion of, is it a Thursday or is it a Saturday? Okay, I'll take a look at the events calendar and I'll switch up the formula, but maybe we'll say, like I said, first meeting of the month will be Thursday, second one will be Saturday, and I'll send the notification out in advance.
Is there enough content / interest / your time, Bob, to do this weekly instead of bi-weekly?
Sorry, I have a landscaper out who's leaf blowing outside my window right now. It's super loud. It's like a chainsaw. If I caught that, you were talking about weekly versus bi-weekly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I seem to think that the feel every 2 weeks we've got sufficient content, but we're not like staring at each other awkwardly. By the end of the meeting. I'm more comfortable, I think, with every 2 weeks at this point myself. And obviously that could change, you know, if and when the DiveTribe as a group grows, we get more people, then obviously we'll have more questions and more content. So
I bring that up because you're committed at home to doing an hour only here, but on several of these things, we've gone into extra innings.
yeah, sure. Yep, absolutely. And the thing about that is after I go, the recording stops. And so that's all lost content.
Oh, we're abundantly aware of that and take advantage of the situation.
Well, let's give it a shot. Let's do one step at a time. We'll do Thursdays and Saturdays. And then, you know, as the group grows, or as people, as you guys let me know that if we're going into, to use your terminology, overtime too consistently, then we'll look at, you know, every other week is a Thursday and every other week is a Saturday or something like that. We can certainly make that work.
One thing maybe you can do is, instead of like, you know, every other week, you know, there's 52 weeks in a year or whatever, but you could say something like the first meeting of the month on Thursday is the second Thursday of the month. So you do second Thursday of the month and whatever, however it works out. I don't know how it works out in the calendar, but then the third or fourth Saturday of the month. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what
you know,
you're
so
saying.
so that way it's on a designated day of the month.
So we could fill out our calendars here at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Because Bob, you may have to run off someplace in your airplane or whatever, and you may not be able to have a meeting. If you know, that way everybody knows that on a designated, the second Thursday of the month, there's always a meeting or something, you know?
Yep. But
Yeah, some months may have 3 meetings, others may not. So that makes it more regular if we do it on the first Tuesday or Thursday or whatever.
Right.
okay. Well, again, what I'll do probably tomorrow morning at 4 a.m., I'll go through my calendar and throw it in there and put the dates out, and then I'll send an email out to everybody in my mailing list. It'd be nice to, we have over 110 DiveTribe members at the Drydocks right now, and it looks like we've got what, 6, 12, 15, 16, 17, 19 or 20 of us here, which is actually pretty good turnout. But it'd be good to get more. Man, I'd love to get more people chiming in. All right, I'll do it. Sounds good. So quick note, I mentioned really quickly, Randy sent over new files for the Australian Collins class. If you guys are into printing, 72nd scale, it's a super cool boat, and it's got X-tail, so it's going to be a really good choice for pool operations. It's a nice size. It'll be tons of fun in a pool if you're fighting with enclosed operational spaces. So just keep that in mind. Lots of Australian customers were begging for that one, and they're grabbing it as they.
And Randy, make a courtesy copy and send it to the French embassy.
To the French embassy.
You're bad, Dave.
I'll send one to you too, Dave.
What else we got going on? Oh, I gotta share a picture for, I don't know how many of you guys have big boats. So let me drag this to a new screen so I can share it. I went to, as you guys know, I picked up a bunch of boats from Ken Griffin over in Florida. And one thing that I saw in his shop that I was completely enamored with was a stand that he had there. And I wanted to share this with you. So this is actually an RC airplane stand, but it works really well for subs. You can adjust it, I think, from anywhere from 19-inch like width between those holders up to like 30 inches or something like that. and you can adjust the height as well. So this has a, you know, a 10-foot Gatto on it right now. And it's on casters, so you can just literally wheel it around your shop from like painting station to soldering station to grinding station without having to move your station to the boat. It's RC, oh, let me see here. RC Plane Stands is the site, rcplanestands.com.
Nice.
These are not cheap. He was telling me this is laminated Baltic birch plywood. It costs about $144 a sheet, apparently. And he's running out of, because it's out of the Baltics with this wonderful war going on, he's running out of stock. But if you guys have a big boat in your shop and it's taking up like bench space, this allows you just to roll it around. So you don't need to, you know, have a permanent home for it in your shop. Highly, highly recommended. Amazing customer service. Glenn is the owner. And this came within, I think, 2 or 3 days of ordering. So highly recommended.
So
One
what was
side
the
question.
tab, Bob?
Whoa, back up. What's that?
What was the tab on it?
I think it was about $600.
One side question.
Beautiful piece.
Where do you get a 10-foot Gato?
It was appropriated from the Smurf Navy. This has been in the background of my videos for like ages and ages and ages. It's a 30-second parallel hull, originally built by an ex-submariner back in like the 90s, and it's out to me for refit. So it's going to be all modernized and.
Yeah, I keep seeing it with you in pictures, and I always wonder where. Matter of fact, you have it on the trim meet that you had. It was in the background. There was a 10-foot Gato. I think it was.
Yep. So Jason and I, we got the forward servos are all done. So the bow tracks and forward servos are done. The the gun swivel servo is done. I got the motor box complete. It's running 4 Pittman 12-volt motors, two each in parallel, driving those big props with belt drives. It's gonna be pretty slick.
Holy cow!
We're hoping it's the kind of thing where you like attach it to a dinghy and tow yourself around the lake. We'll see. Yeah, so that was that. What else we got? We started refitting that Oberon, was it 48th OTW Oberon that we got from Dwayne. That's going to be going out hopefully next week. Things are going quick on that one. What else? Oh, cylinders are going really good. Steve, I don't know if you got them yet or not, but your cylinders I think were shipped out.
I got the notification. Thank you very much.
Yep, you bet. Those are on their way out. We're about halfway through our queue right now, and we're getting faster and faster at it. Jason and I were saying we feel bad because like every cylinder we do, we figure out ways of like doing things better. And so like kind of the later you are in the queue, the better the cylinders are, which is kind of shitty for the early adopters. But there's some things that will, you know, the upgrades that we'll make available to the early people if they want them. Not big things, just little things that make it just a little more user friendly and such. But, the 2.5 cylinder is still queued up, by the way, as well. The prototype is probably like 60% done. We just need to find the time to get it back on the bench and finish it up. So we'll have an option for the smaller boats like the Bronco 23. That'll also work really, really good in the Gatto, the Revel Gatto class kit, which is huge. Everybody wants that for their boats. So that's kind of what we got going on. Now I can turn it over to you guys, see what you guys got going on. Oh, we didn't mention the trim party. So if you didn't see it, the video's up. We had a lot of people out. We had a lot of boats. We had think probably 5 people in the shop on Friday. That sounded about right, Ed, Steve?
Yes, yeah, it was pretty packed in there. A lot of stuff going on. It was great. It was the build party for the pre-trim party.
Yeah. And then the morning of, everybody headed out to my place. We dropped it in the pool. I think Vaughn probably made the most use of that. That boat went from like adequate to pretty well bang on by the time we went to the lake to try that boat out.
And I literally did drop it in the pool. Remember, I let the bottom end drop out because I forgot the screw.
Speaking of Vaughn, I think you should make mention of that excellent Milwaukee pack system.
Yeah.
And by the way, mine arrived today.
Oh, you ordered one, huh?
It's in the garage. So I'm telling you, when it comes to one system, especially for large boats, it's all integrated with the tools, everything you need, and retrieving large boats out of the water. I mean, you could see it used in the video.
Yep.
Did you buy the work surface top piece?
I believe it can. Well, what I got was a toolkit and one of the boxes. I'm not sure. I think it did come. One came with it, or is it separate? I'm not sure.
So there's a separate piece that's kind of thin, the one that locks into the top that you can put on the bottom. So it's a separate piece. I picked mine up at Home Depot. I think it's like $50. And then I took out the wood piece and put in that Sintra.
Right.
I just got a couple of layers of that, stuck it in there.
I plan to take a few photos next time I see you.
Yeah, or I can bring it or send some down to you.
Got it.
So just so everybody knows what we're talking about. So Vaughn brought basically this like collapsible trolley or what do they call it? Wheel trucks. And then it has like an integrated toolkit, I guess, that kind of snaps in so you can roll it around. So you've got all your trim parts and spare parts and tools and all that stuff as part of it. And then he's got this separate lid with an integrated stand that goes on the top, and it snaps on to the hand truck. So you can lower the whole hand truck into the water with the boat on it and launch the boat. There's a really good clip of the video, I think, of Jason launching the upholder at the lake there, dropping it in. So if you're looking for an easier way, that is the way to do it.
I like the width of it. It's an extra wide cart for the larger boat. So you won't have a very, let's say you're pulling out a 96-inch LA. You'll have better, I feel, better control hauling that out. It also had that, remember, Bob, it had those skids on it.
The rails.
You keep it braced against the dock as you pull it up till the wheels kick it. And it's aluminum construction. So I doubt you're going to get any rusting or anything from it.
Erosion, yeah.
Very, very well put together.
I had looked at it, and then I think Jason and I just decided we'll use our kind of existing trolley. But I love that idea. So I got a separate tool case that'll go as like a kit for remote events and that kind of thing. So we keep all of our stuff in there, and it'll be easy to transport and keep together. But yep. There you go. These are all the like hints and tricks that make this hobby so much more enjoyable for people when you go out. And then the other thing you got to do in the top of the tool case is put the checklists for pre-mission and post-mission so that you remember to put the screw in your boat.
Yeah, maybe I need to laminate it on the top.
Yeah.
Tattoos work as well.
That would be a dedicated RC Submariner to put his checklist on his forearm. All right, there you go. Now that really is the last thing I've got. I'll turn it over to you guys.
Hey, well, I'll go while I'm talking. I have a question. So I put my upholder into my pool for the first time since the trim party. And amazingly, when you've got it submerged a little bit, I can actually turn in my pool. So it's nice. So I was doing some circuits, several of them. And until it just quit on me. So I had to pull it all out, and I found that my front cylinder is leaking a little bit, and the connectors, they were blowing the fuse. And so I changed the fuse and put it together again, and it blew another one. And I realized there was just enough water. One of the, I think is it the Dean's connectors, the red ones? It was in the very bottom, and it would just wick water up in between those and short it out and blow my fuse. So I finally have disassembled my whole cylinder. So now I'm jumping in deep into the mystery of my first cylinder. So.
Well, the good news for me is you've got tailgate warranty. I saw your tailgate, your warranty's up. But we'll help you. We'll obviously help you. Now, this Dean's thing, that doesn't feel right to me, because I run Dean's connectors on the outside of the cylinder, you know, between the battery and the cylinder all the time.
So is it the red ones? You know, there's a vertical and a horizontal. Is that the Dean's?
That's Dean's, yeah.
So
exactly.
what I looked at is it was sitting right at the bottom of the cylinder, and a couple of the sticky tapes had come loose. So the wiring was right in the bottom of the cylinder, and I could see where water had just gotten in there. I'm not quite sure where it's coming in, but it looked like it had wicked up just a little bit inside that joint. But for some reason, it was blowing the fuse.
Is it the chlorine in the pool?
I don't know. It's a 15 amp fuse. Is that the right size for that?
Well, make sure it's not a saltwater pool.
It is a saltwater pool.
There you go.
Now, even if that's not a dead short, and that's what it would take. You're getting a little current that's leaking through the water, fine. But I'll bet donuts that is not why you're blowing the fuse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Dean's connectors will leak. They're not waterproof. Mine leak. Everybody who's using them in the wet leak. So there's a current path, yes, but not much. Just enough to make the positive element get a little crusty on you. You've got a different problem, Vaughn.
Well, no, again, Dave, I don't know if it would make a difference if it's a heavily salted pool, you know.
It's not a dead short. Yes, there's more current that's going through there, but it's not 15 amps.
Yeah, no, that's true. Especially if you're not under full throttle. You know, it might be drawing, even at full throttle, I'd be surprised if it was drawing 4 or 5 amps.
Vaughn, try this. Was it blowing before you applied any current to the motor?
When you, no, I drove it around probably for 15 minutes, drove it around the pool, was diving, you know, probably half power sometimes. It was working perfectly. And
talking about the second time you blew that thing, was the motor running?
Oh no, I pulled it out and had it on the bench. And I pulled the end, I pulled the fuse, put in a new fuse, and went to power it up. And it's like it flashed on for a moment, and then it went off.
Okay, your Dean's connector at that point was out of the water, right?
Well, when I looked up at the cylinder and I was starting to look for anything, I could see some water down where the pump goes in the bottom of that OTW cylinder.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of water there, and then the wiring was in the bottom of the cylinder laying there.
So it was still wet then?
It was still wet. I didn't notice it at first, and there was actually some water right at the Dean's connector that was laying in the bottom of the cylinder.
Okay.
Now, I just assumed that was the reason. So I pulled it apart. I didn't have another 15 amp fuse, and it was about 11:30 last night. So I just got it apart. I'm letting it dry. I separated the whole end because I need to glue in that new rail, Bob, you remember, and Jason on the side of that.
Yep.
So I bought the plastic for that a couple of days ago. So I figured I'm going to separate it. Maybe look at some of the any of the inlets and just check it. But is there a way you can check for water tightness? Now you have your method where you blow into a tube.
Yep.
For others, but mine doesn't have either end. They're both sealed.
So the OTW cylinder as it comes from the factory doesn't have any of that capability, but it's one thing that we do regardless. When we do like other builds or whatever, like a fresh build, and it takes literally what, Jason, like 3.5 minutes. You just put a little brass nipple in the end and you slip a hose on it. That's literally all it takes. And then you
So
can
do you drill and add a hole in there to each end?
Nope, just one.
Just one end.
Because your forward compartment, your after
Oh, that's
compartment are
right.
connected with
Yeah.
the conduit. So you just need an inlet for that.
Ah,
So you're gonna, typically we will do like a 3/32 nipple brass tube, some thin CA, and that'll seal it against the bulkhead. Put your hose on, and we use I think it's like a 4mm silicone hose, so it's nice and flexible. And then you use a 3/32 rod to plug it at the end when you're done. And then you can throw that thing in your pool or your tub or whatever, and then blow in it and see where, if anywhere, the leaks occur. And I recommend that as part of your pre-mission checklist every time you go. So assemble the cylinder, get it all set up as though you're going to install it, but don't go to the water, test it for watertight integrity, and then put it in your boat. And then if your integrity is good, the other thing that you can do, you can actually pull that rubber hose off the nipple and put a little stubby one on, so you don't have to deal with the hose.
yeah.
I'd
I
like
will
to break in for a second. Going back to blowing fuse, I'd be highly suspicious of the electronic motor controller. Those controllers can be very sensitive to moisture. The internal switches can turn on, both of them simultaneously, which was a dead short on the battery, blowing the fuse with even the least little bit of moisture on the circuit board. And so be highly suspicious of your electronic motor controller. Out.
Okay, I'll look at that. And I remember talking to Mike Martin, and he mentioned that he had a few problems with just I think the battery remote disconnect, but I don't think that's the problem.
Vaughn,
yeah.
Is that speed controller in your boat, is it an Imtronics? Bob?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if Bob was using an Mtronics or not. You'd have to double check, because Mtronics, in theory, are waterproof. They're actually potted in resin, so you could literally run them in the wet if it's Mtronics.
Yeah, and I just mentioned that Warren's observation is valid, but are we dealing with a electronic speed controller that is watertight or not?
Now, the Mtronics is not watertight due to my experience.
Okay, there you go. I think, Vaughn, if I remember correctly, the pump ESC is Mtronics because we replaced that. Excuse me. And I think the motor one was like a British brand of something or other. So it could potentially be the ESC.
So now Viper, does that sound familiar? I've got 2 Viper modules in mine. I'm still learning some of my components.
Those are Mtronics. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I have. I have 2 of those. One says it's a Viper 10 and one's a Viper 15 for the motor.
Yep, there you go. There you go. The 10 is for your pump and the 15 is for your motor.
Okay.
The other thing, backing up a little bit, that it really wouldn't hurt. Beans are actually a pretty decent connector for the wet. If you use a little dab of dielectric grease across the face, when you put that together, the grease kind of oozes out. It's going to be messy, but it'll help with water. If you don't like the green crud forming on your positive terminal, if you're in fresh water or salt water or whatever, it can't hurt to put a little grease on that face so that it kind of creates a barrier. Now, obviously, if you're diving to 30 feet, the water is just going to push its way past that. But if you're like with your boat, you're just staying basically within 18 inches of the surface, so the water pressure is really not going to be massive enough to force its way past that grease barrier.
Yeah, no, that's good. And then on the cylinders for drilling that hole, I think that's an acrylic cylinder. Is that correct for OTW?
Yep.
Any special thing for drilling that other than go slow?
Yeah, just a good sharp drill bit. That's all you need. Yeah. And,
Okay.
and it's a tiny hole, 3/32. It'll just zip right through there.
Yeah, I've got some tubing for that. And then I did have one question. PVC gluing to acrylic, CA glue, what would be the best one for that? Just any CA?
Was that for your rail?
Yeah, for the rail on the side. And I bought instead of that hollow rail, I went ahead and bought a solid little piece that same size just to be a little more durable.
Yeah, you should replace both sides of that sucker just so it doesn't have, because styrene over time gets brittle.
Yeah.
So if your other side hasn't failed, it will eventually. But yeah, I think CA, Dave probably knows better than me, but I would use CA.
Anything special? Would like a medium thickness work?
Gel.
24-hour.
A gel? Okay. And then to break off the old one, do I just like grab it and break it off or anything special? Because since I've never done the acrylic.
Yeah, so I mean, he glues it on there really well. And unfortunately, if you're trying to get all of it out, it's going to require some grinding, which means you're going to be sacrificing a little bit in terms of cosmetics. But you know, there's obviously ways around that. You could get creative if the looks of it are really bothering you. But I would just use like a sanding drum on the rotary tool and just zip it back, grind that styrene off. And then the other good news about that, you're creating a rough surface to glue the new rail onto.
Yeah, no, those are all great suggestions. I didn't want to corner the market here today, but all good things, me being a newbie to this. So kind of like Bob, when you told me and you pulled that cylinder apart and you said, now you get to put that back together on the bench. and I struggled with it. And last night I was contemplating, you know, separating that apart, pulling that pump and then disconnecting all the connectors, and I pulled the whole thing off. And I was like, okay, I've done it.
Good for you. It's trial by fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, thanks for your input. And thanks to Jason and you, Bob, and Steve Hodges and David, all your input while I was down there. It was great meeting you guys, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you.
You bet. Hey, and just on that, did you get those files I emailed over?
Oh, did you email them already?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it went to my junk mail. I'll have to look at it. Sorry.
Check it. That's the top secret project.
Top secret project. Yeah, I think maybe foreshortening a little bit might be the way to go that you were talking about, because I started looking at that again and I thought, yeah, to have any bulk in the center, it'd be long. So I'll take a look at it.
There would be sports car posture inside. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Great. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, you bet.
Bob, could I jump in with a question about adhesives? Being as we were talking about it, I'm working on my Type 7 ARC model, and I'm using the plastic struck bondine as the adhesive.
Liquid styrene. Yep.
Yeah, and I've just started gluing up the bow section, and I'm applying it on the outside of the seam, and it does absorb in, and I'm holding it for approximately a minute as I move along the seams. Now this morning, I mean, they are tight. Is that sufficient, or do you have to do any more with that?
In my experience, that's fine. So that liquid styrene cement, oh, Dave's got something he's got his finger out.
Yeah, that's the stuff I'm using. So.
It actually, it's different than standard adhesive. You're not adding a bonding agent. You're actually changing the state of the two products that you're trying to bond, and they fuse together to create one unified body. So provided it's got good saturation and that it's penetrated all the way, in theory, it's going to be intensely, amazingly strong to the point where you'll be cursing it because you figured out you need to undo it.
Okay.
Here's Dave.
Right.
Here's Dave. What's he got?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Number 16 cement from 1963. How long have you had that tube? They don't make that font anymore.
Well done, number 16, clear thickened cement for acrylic sheet. But it will also melt and fuse styrene, ABS, and just about any other thermoplastic, thermoset material I've dealt with. Now this is welding, okay? This is fusion, where the molecules of the adjoining pieces actually intermingle and fuse together. It's not an adhesive. It's not a cohesive. It's an adhesive. I'll get this wrong. Anyway, it affects a weld. And what you're doing with your liquid cement is adequate for most bonding fusion jobs, because that's what it's doing. But I only use it like a welder would employ preheating metal before actually fusing the pieces together. So the process, if you have a structurally important thing like a seam on a big model like the one you have, is that you wet down those adjoining mating surfaces. You're softening the plastic. Now that can, as I say, affect a reasonably good weld, but it doesn't penetrate very much. This stuff, because it's in a gel formula and because it has a very, very aggressive solvent to it, and that's how this stuff works. It melts the plastic so that when the solvent evaporates, it leaves a weld, a fusion. So this is the stuff to stick stuff together. I would look on that liquid cement as the opening act. You're softening the plastic, making it more receptive to fusion with the thick stuff. And the thick stuff gives you time. You soften things up with the liquid, then you lay down this gel on one half of the pieces, and then you slam them together, tape them together, and leave them alone for about a week. Because it takes time for that solvent to evaporate.
Okay.
That's acrylic adhesive, right?
Yeah, that's the nomenclature. Number 16, the product name is Weldon, and they have, as you can imagine, a whole bunch of variations. But the one that was recommended to me back when the earth was still warm was number 16.
Okay.
I did not know that. I learned something today, that you can use acrylic adhesive to bond the thermoplastics together. That's awesome.
Probably stated as acrylic because this is industrial strength stuff and it goes to fabricators. This isn't the stuff you find in a hobby shop. And most of the fabricators at the time this stuff was produced were using acrylics.
I think that's probably more marketing than anything else. They're like, oh, this is special glue just for acrylic, and then you need our special stuff for other thermoplastics.
And is that stuff still available?
The available stuff comes in a blue tube from Amazon now. The 16, it's a blue tube, not a red tube.
Blue, okay.
That's what I got, the 16 from Amazon. So, which I think Dave is saying that Dave has the industrial version, the one that has, warnings all over it, not sold in California or anything like that.
If it doesn't promote cancer and other things, it's no good.
No good.
Okay. Thank you.
That's true of paints too.
There you go. Jewel of wisdom for this meeting. Awesome.
All right, for how old that tube is, David, how do you keep it from drying out? Because I have a tube here, it's dried out. I have a tube of silicone that after a while, it starts hardening on the inside. Same with the RTV. Any of these things, I've tried all kinds of things to keep it airtight, and it doesn't stay airtight, and they cure or something.
Well, that's the difference. Those things cure in air. This stuff has to give up solvent in air. And as long as the cap is on tight, the solvent is in place.
Right.
All right. So you have exothermic and isothermic forming cures. And some generate their own heat, which causes the molecules to get in long chains, which is that state change from liquid to solid. And the other ones soften the adjoining materials and keep them soft so that the molecules between them will interlink until the solvent evaporates. And then you get back to that solid state. That's a weld or a fusion. And that's what this is. The stuff you were holding up, like the RTV, cures in the presence of water in the air or the object. So the mechanism of state change from liquid or gel to solid is different.
One thing you could try, Ken, that I haven't tried, but would actually be super interesting, get a little Tupperware container and grab a can of the, they use it for resin. It's an air displacement spray. And they use it for resin. So the idea is after you've opened like a bottle of resin, air gets in there and it begins affecting the chemistry of the resin. And it comes in like a can, it's like a WD-40, it's got like a straw sticking out. So you turn it upside down, you spray it in, and what it does is it sprays an inert gas into the void. And then you nitrogen. Yeah, and then you cap it. So what you could do, you could put your silicones and tubes of glue and all that in a Tupperware container, crack the edge, spray this stuff in, put the lid down, and that gas will just sit in the box. I haven't tried it, but I mean, I'd be interested to see if it works.
I've seen it marketed as
or you have the clear cap to the silicone, like the 3M. You have that clear cap that you unscrew. What I do is I fill a little bit with the RTV, and when I tighten it, that dries around it, but doesn't go down. So when I when I undo the cap, I just peel the end off the tip, and I'm good to go, because I'm creating a barrier. Right.
Yeah, you're sealing the threads.
Now, I'm not quite going that much. Just a little, the end, the very end where it comes down to a cone. I leave about 1/4 of an inch. Then I screw, I fill it so there's no air going into the tube.
Right.
And it dries around it. So when you unscrew it, you just peel that little bit off and it's good to go. So you're not digging in there to get that dry piece out.
Yeah, I use usually a piece of brass tubing and just drive it all the way in there to create a opening.
Fill the cap a little bit. It'll bond with the water molecules, like Dave said, but it won't penetrate around back down into it.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah, I was on before. I said I had purchased a sub driver at an auction, and I just got it. Here it is. David, it's one of yours, probably an early one. It's dated 2003 on the end cap.
Yeah, that's like the like version 2 sub driver, I would say. Yeah,
I think so. I'm not sure, but it was unused and in remarkably good condition. I wanted to convert it to a snort system. So the only thing I did, I think, is I just plugged up the hose
flow valve,
flow safety valve to the forward compartment. And I think that'll keep it from drawing any air through the forward compartment. Do I need to get rid of the snorkel valve, or can I keep that? I think it's easier just to leave it off for a snort system. Is that right?
Yeah, take the snorkel out and substitute a straight run with an open top at the end of the tube as high in the sail as you can get it.
Okay. The other question I had about that was the forward end piece has a little bicycle air valve in it. I'm thinking, is that for pressurizing the cylinder for testing?
It does two things for you. First is, as you described and Bob alluded to earlier, it's a means, once you take the core valve out, you now have a nipple over which the valve body, you slip a rather large diameter piece of silicone tube, and that's the one you blow in. Now keep in mind that type of cylinder has no positive means of securing the forward and after bulkheads, so you have to hold the thing. When you put it underwater, you hold it because you're going to blow into it, and you're going to pop those things off if you don't hold it tight. All right. So that's your means of leak testing. And don't forget to also leak test inside the ballast tank.
Yep.
Converting the thing.
When you, yeah, just as an aside, and sorry to interrupt, when you test your cylinders, flip it over, let the ballast tank flood, because you've got seals for your linkage inside. And if you just keep it dry, you'll never know. So,
and you have that conduit tube. You want to be checking that for being watertight in the two bulkheads. Getting back on that Schrader or tire valve, the second reason I had that thing in there is that when you put the after or forward bulkhead on after the element's been installed, you've created a slight overpressure inside the cylinder, and you want to burp that out. And that's what that tire valve is for. You press the stem and you get the inside of the cylinder back to ambient pressure. If you don't, you've got that slight overpressure. It's not going to pop a bulkhead off, but when things start warming up in that cylinder, now you have expanded air, you've increased the pressure, you can blow a cap off.
Okay, that's great. I was wondering about that.
I call it the equalization valve.
Yeah, sounds technical. The other question I had, I want to run two servos in the forward compartment. You suggest attaching them to the forward bulkhead with a standoff so that the arms can swing.
So if you take a look at your ballast servo inside there,
yeah,
that would be one way of going about it. It's got a slotted horn that allows that linkage arm to slide forward and back in it. That allows you to mount that bulkhead directly to it. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, let's see if I can put it up here. Yeah, there's the servo in there for the valve, and it's just got a bracket, but there's a recess in the bulkhead to allow the servo arm to swing back and forth. Would I have to I would probably have to recess the forward compartment also?
Well, what I'd recommend is make an aluminum foundation to stand those servos a little farther forward so that you can keep those arms from making contact, because the wall thickness on that cylinder isn't that big.
Yeah, okay.
So just move those, position those servos a little bit farther forward so you got plenty of room for the arm to swing, as well as to account for some of that transitional arcing as a consequence of the horn moving.
Okay.
If you take a look at the video I posted up, I think a week or two ago of the 80 millimeter R&R cylinder, I installed a forward servo in the battery compartment of that module. It's kind of like, I don't want to say sloppy, but the way that we did it, instead of using like O-ring seals, like you've got in the back of your boat, I used a bellow seal. And when you have like a 1/4 inch diameter brass tube that you put that bellows on the outside, you've got a lot of slop, right? That linkage can move a lot. And so as that horn is swinging, it's going to be moving about 1/8 inch forward and backward. If you've got a true, like O-ring seal, that alignment is critical, because as soon as you get off alignment, you get binding. So if you use a bellow seal, you have so much slop in there that you get no binding. And because all of the force is being applied in a linear fashion, it doesn't matter, because there's no transverse load on that servo. It's all linear. So even though it's like wiggly, it's still solid in a linear path to your dive planes or your shutters or whatever it is you've got going on up there. And it just makes it a lot easier to mount the servo in there, because that alignment isn't so critical. So take a look at that video. It's the 80 mil R&R, and I have a little section in there on mounting a servo in the forward bulkhead in there.
I will. I'll look that one up. I noticed that on the flood valve servo, David has the servo arm slotted so that as the servo arm swings, the push rod is allowed to move back and forth on it, and also helping to keep it linear.
Yep.
I was thinking of trying to do that too. That looks like a neat idea.
It's an inboard cam.
Yeah, yeah. So that's great. I'm looking forward to getting this put together. I've gotten my parts together, and so I'll get working on it right away. So
there you go. I
Thank
have
you
a
for
funny
all the
story,
information.
a story talking about that equalization valve.
Yeah,
So back in the early days, when I was building boats in my garage, I got an early D&E watertight cylinder. So if any of you guys have seen it, you can recognize them because they've got like a yellow resin end caps.
Yep.
Super like beefy monsters, and you'll see them still I have like 2 at my shop that are still around and functional, but they were prone to snapping the lips off the end caps because people would jam a screwdriver in and they try and pry the end caps off, and it would snap the lip off the end caps. And the cylinder that I got from the customer, he had snapped the lip all the way off around the outside of it, so there's nothing left to try and get the end cap off. And so I put my air compressor onto the lip. and I slowly pressurized this, and this cylinder had probably been sitting for like 5 years, like easily. And I applied pressure. I thought maybe he glued it to the cylinder, but it let go. And I don't know what the pressure was set at. I probably had about 60 PSI in that thing, but it blew the end cap off across the garage, and it stuck the linkage arm into the drywall in the side of the garage. So you got to be careful when you pressurize those cylinders.
I don't mean to take up too much time, but I have one more quick question. The aft end cap of this particular cylinder has 4 servo push rod openings on it, and I'm planning to use only 2. Is there a way I can prize out those seals and save them?
No, well, you
Or
can
do I have to
save them in place and just blank them off with a length of 16th inch brass rod.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just leave them there. You want to use them later, pop them out, but why go to all that work?
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering if, they look like they're sealed in with RTV silicone or something.
They are.
I was thinking maybe I could push them out and save them for spares.
Well, that's why I designed them that way. You put in a big piece of rod on the inboard side and you just push on it and they'll come right out.
Will they come out on the inside, or do I pull them out from the outside?
From the outside by putting a rod on the inside and then pushing on the rod, and they go outboard into the wet side. And it doesn't take much force to push them out.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You've answered all my questions so far. I'll get working on this, and I'll have more later.
All right, we're at 4, which is kind of like my cutoff. So I can obviously let you guys play as long as you want to. We're going to go to dinner, and then we're going to an old school drive-in movie theater tonight. There's one like a 35-minute drive away. So I'm kind of excited. I haven't gone since I was a kid, probably like 18, 19 years old, to drive-in. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Load up the trunk with a bunch of your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Get the cooler full of like snacks and drinks and pop the trunk. Yeah. So that's
when your wife goes to the restroom during the movie, repark the car to a different spot. That's what you do.
The last time I went to a drive-in in Texas, my buddy and I snuck in over the fence, and we were walking through a field. It was completely dark, and we heard a rattlesnake. And you should have seen us leaping and hopping, trying to get away from that snake. We didn't know where it was.
It's probably just some like speaker they hid in the grass to stop people from sneaking into the movie.
Yeah, probably.
Rattlesnake minefield. All right, good stuff. Well, again, I'll leave you guys play. I'll give Dave the reins, but the recording will stop now. Look for an email here in the next few days with potentially that new schedule for Thursday/Saturday schedule. But it was good to see all of you guys, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you, Bob.
You bet. Just gotta find Dave now. Hold on.